To understand the biological impact of rice, we must first analyze the anatomy of the grain itself. All rice begins as a whole grain. Brown rice is simply the entire seed of the grass species Oryza sativa, consisting of three components: the fibrous outer bran, the nutrient-dense germ, and the starchy endosperm. White rice is the result of milling, a mechanical process that strips away the bran and the germ, leaving only the endosperm. Nutritionally, this is often framed as a loss, but biochemically, it is a trade-off between nutrient presence and nutrient availability. The primary argument against white rice is its impact on blood glucose. The glycemic index measures how quickly a carbohydrate converts to sugar in the bloodstream. Pure glucose is 100. White rice typically scores between 70 and 90, classifying it as a high GI food. Brown rice, due to its fiber content, scores lower, typically between 50 and 60. However, data requires context. When we look at glycemic load, the difference narrows. Furthermore, the insulin response is significantly altered by the food matrix. Consuming white rice in isolation spikes insulin. However, co-ingesting it with lipids or proteins slows gastric emptying, effectively blunting the glycemic spike. In high-performance contexts, the rapid digestion of white rice is actually preferred for glycogen replenishment post-exertion, whereas the slower digestion of brown rice can be rate-limiting for recovery. On paper, brown rice contains significantly higher levels of magnesium, phosphorus, and zinc. However, the bran layer of brown rice also contains high concentrations of phytic acid. Phytic acid is an anti-nutrient that binds to minerals in the digestive tract, forming insoluble precipitates that the body cannot absorb. Clinical studies suggest that while brown rice contains more minerals, the bioavailability of those minerals is compromised. The milling process of white rice removes the bran, and thus the phytic acid. Therefore, while white rice contains fewer total minerals, the minerals it does retain are often more bioavailable to the human system. Rice plants are uniquely efficient at absorbing heavy metals from soil and water, particularly arsenic. Arsenic accumulates primarily in the outer hull of the grain. Because brown rice retains this hull, testing consistently shows it contains 80% more inorganic arsenic than white rice. Inorganic arsenic is a class 1 carcinogen. For populations consuming rice as a staple caloric source, the long-term exposure levels in brown rice present a statistically significant variable that must be weighed against its fiber benefits. White rice, having the hull removed, carries a substantially lower toxicological load. Finally, we analyze mechanical digestion. The bran of brown rice is insoluble fiber. For individuals with sensitive gut microbiomes or conditions like IBS, this abrasive fiber can cause inflammation and bloating. White rice is chemically simple, mostly starch chains that are easily cleaved by the enzyme amylase. It is one of the most easily digestible sources of glucose available, which is why it is often part of clinical elimination diets designed to reduce gut inflammation. The data indicates that superiority depends on the biological goal. If the goal is maximum fiber and slowed absorption, brown rice has the advantage, provided one accounts for phytic acid and arsenic. If the goal is efficient glycogen replenishment, high mineral bioavailability, and low digestive stress, the data favors white rice.